Hey guys, I must say it's been so good to be in person with many of you over the past few weeks, just to be in huddles again and sitting outside around a fire or in the sun with some of you guys. And I'm just so grateful for the nice weather we've had. And it's just been so good to laugh with you and hang out with you and chat with you again. So I'm grateful for it. So I'm so glad you decided to tune in to my little sermonette, as I like to call them today, or as I like to call them, our little sermonettes. And I just pray that something sticks out to you today, even if it's one thing that just inspires you and encourages you to follow Jesus more. So, my name is Kristen. Most of you, I would guess, know that because I've been around for a while. But how many of you know who I am? Because the name Kristen doesn't come close to really describing who I am as a person. Like, names are funny, right? Like, we say our name, but it takes time to get to know me more. It takes time to get to know each other more and who you really are, your personality, your character, your likes, your interests. So I'm just going to give you a few I am statements, just so you, I think many of you know this, but it's okay. Just so you guys can get to know me a little bit better. So I am a daughter and a sister. I'm the oldest in my family. I've got two younger siblings, a brother and a sister. I am a woman in ministry. I've been doing this kind of thing for over 5 years now, working with students in church ministry, and I absolutely love it. And then I am a traveler. I love traveling. I've always been obsessed with different countries and different cultures and going new places. And my goal in life is to get to 50 countries and to travel to all 7 continents, including Antarctica. Still haven't figured out how that's going to happen, but it will happen. So those are just a few statements about who I am as a person. And if you're watching this, you're going to do the same thing with your huddle afterwards, so you guys can get to know each other a little more on a deeper level. So today, I am introducing our new series called Big Surprise, I Am. This October, we're going to look at the I Am statements of Jesus. In the Bible, in his story, Jesus gave several I Am statements to his followers to help them understand who he was. But they also had another layer of meaning to them, which I think is so cool. He wasn't just describing himself, he was actually making a direct connection between himself and God. You see that the phrase I am, the statement I am, actually had deep significance for the Jewish people. And so we're going to go back to where that phrase came from, and we're going to read Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 through 14. This is the story of Moses and the burning bush, which I think is one of the coolest stories in the Bible. We're not going to read the whole thing, but we're just going to read about the name of God. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" And God said, "I will be with you. And this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain." Verse 13, Moses said to God, "Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your father has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is his name?' Then what shall I tell them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you." Now, when I was a kid, I was pretty confused by the name that God gave, because it's not a name, right? Like, that's a statement. Like, I don't introduce myself as I am. Well, one, that'd be really weird because you guys would know that's God's name. But also, like, it's a statement. You know, you say I am, and you say, I am what? What are you? Like, who are you? And so I was really confused by that. What kind of name is that to give someone? But when you dig deeper into what that phrase means, I'm going to help you guys understand. There's actually a lot of really cool significance. So I am means I exist. Like, God has been, he will be, and he is right now. He was, he is, and he will always be. He has no beginning and no ending, no start, no ending. He is the creator of everything. No one created him. He just has always been, has always existed. And it's really hard for us to understand. Like, I still have trouble wrapping my head around something, some being that has no start and no ending, because it's just hard. Like, everything on earth has a start and an ending. But God doesn't, because God created all of us. He is the creator. So that's the main meaning of I am. That's the main significance of it. And then here's also what I think I am can mean. I think it's an invitation to get to know God better. Because like I said, you say I am, and your next question is I am what? Like, where's the follow-up? Who are you? Describe yourself to me. And so God does. He does in the Old Testament. We read throughout Exodus and well into the Old Testament and even the New Testament, all these statements that God makes about himself to help his followers understand. And so just a few, he talks about how he is a rescuer. He brought his Israelites out of Egypt, out of slavery. He talks about how he's a jealous God, and a good jealousy. We think of jealousy as a bad thing, but in this case, in God's case, it's a good thing, because he loves us and he desires us and wants us for himself. He's compassionate. He is loving. He punishes the wicked and holds them accountable for their sins. But he's also incredibly gracious and forgiving. And he wants to dwell and be in relationship with his people. So that is who God is. That is just some of the statements that God would make throughout the Bible about himself and who he is. So how does this connect with Jesus? Because that's the point of all of this, is to go back to Exodus and connect it to Jesus and those I am statements that he made about himself. So I'm going to read John 14:6. See how fast I can get to John from Exodus. Almost there. So in John 14:6, Jesus is talking to his followers, his disciples, and he says about himself, Jesus answered, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." So he makes this statement, I am the way and the truth and the life. And the use of I am is intentional. Jesus is trying to help them understand who his disciples he's trying to help his disciples understand who he is, but he's also making an outrageous claim, something that during that time was punishable by death. He is making a claim to be God, that he and God are the same, that he is God, the creator of the universe. And so he's using this statement that every Jewish person would understand. They would have recognized I am as God's name, the way God identified himself to Moses, one of the most important historical figures in their culture. And so in saying I am, Jesus is saying I'm God. And this isn't the only time that Jesus makes bold statements about himself, and we're going to talk about those over the next few weeks, these I am statements that Jesus makes about himself. And they're so important for two reasons. He is claiming to be God, and he is helping his followers to understand who he is. And so what? So why does this matter? What does this matter for us? Well, God's name is an invitation to get to know him more. God's name invites us to keep reading, to keep studying, to keep peeling back the layers to the Bible and to God's character, to understand who he is. And so let me just encourage you guys. We're going to be talking about Jesus the next few weeks. Really dig in and get to know him more. What does it mean when Jesus says, I am the bread of life? What does it mean when he says, I am the good shepherd? I am the way and the truth and the life. God's name in Jesus, he invites us, his name invites us to get to know him more. The phrase I am, but he doesn't leave us hanging. He doesn't leave us in the dark. He reveals himself to us in his word and through the Holy Spirit. And so let me just leave you with this. Get to know Jesus more. Dig into these statements. And there's so many ways you can get to know him, because God, he doesn't hide himself from us. He wants us to get to know him. And that is one of the things that I just love about God, is we have this God who declares himself as I am, this being who has existed forever and will never have an ending. And that's a powerful being who seems distant and hard to understand, but he's not. He is, but he's not at the same time, because he does reveal himself to us. And he wants to be in relationship with us. He wants to be close to us. He wants us to spend time with him. And so spend time reading his word. I know there's parts of this book that are hard to understand and you can feel like you're lost, but there's so much richness and wisdom and wealth to be found when you really dig in and read this book. And not all of it is hard to understand. Like, there's plenty of it that is so easy and accessible for us to read and will resonate with you wherever you are in life. And so read his word. That's a way that you can get to know him more. Talk to him. Pray. That is another way you can get to know him more. And there's different ways that you can pray. You can journal. You can write down your thoughts. Sometimes I'll pray by drawing, by just, reading a scripture and like putting it into picture form, and just praying through that, or even like drawing something and then adding little prayers around it, just like phrases. Or you can go on a walk and talk to him. Sometimes just moving helps us to think better. That's actually one of my favorite ways to talk to God, is just to walk and talk to him. And then finally, go to huddle. One of the best ways that I have grown in my faith is by being in community with other Christians and talking with them about Jesus and wrestling with questions and encouraging each other and sharing our thoughts and listening to each other. And so I just encourage you guys, really engage in huddle, no matter how old you are. That is a great way to get to know Jesus. And so God's name invites us to get to know him more. And so I encourage you guys, really don't ever stop. We're going to talk about Jesus' I am statements for 4 weeks, but don't stop after 4 weeks. Like, I'm 30 years old and I've pretty much been a Christian since I was a baby. Technically 3.5 if you want to get really technical, but I still feel like there's so, I know God, but there's still so much more to uncover, and it keeps me coming back to this book. It keeps me coming back to my church community, and it keeps me coming back to prayer, because the more I get to know Jesus, the more I fall in love with him and the more I want to follow him. So that's my encouragement for you guys today. Get to know Jesus. Get to know who he is.